right? So we'll start with atoms and molecules. Our topic as per NCERT or as per the CBSE syllabuses, this is what we have to cover. अगर आप एक strike पे देखें, atomic mass is something we have studied. Molecule is something we know like anything. Ion is something we know. Writing chemical formula, conducting marriages, as I said, we know. Molecular mass, we will visit, because since we know this is by heart ka khel. And one Dalton's atomic theory, atoms and symbols, you now know how to read the periodic table up to the first 10-20 elements. तो यहाँ पे कोई भी चीज Greek और Latin तो नहीं है, ठीक है? So we start with the laws of chemical combination. This chapter will start with the law of chemical combination, and our first law is law of conservation of mass. So we go again, right? We start again. So we have two laws. We are trying to do this, and we are trying to study this one, law of conservation of mass. These are some short questions. आपको बोलेगा define law of conservation of mass. अब आपको एक problem दे देगा, because otherwise chemistry में कोई problem तो है नहीं. So there is one problem on concentration of a solution and out here. And then in the next chapter you can have some electron proton calculation, nothing more than that. So law of conservation of mass. We spoke a lot about this law, that this law was given by Antonin Lavoisier, and this belongs to the 1600 era. And in those days, nuclear reactions were not known. So this law is typically to only chemical reactions. In today's world, we do not see the law as it is now, because in today's world, we have got chemical reactions as well as nuclear reactions also. This law, in a very, what to say, layman's way says that when I have a reaction, which means a chemical reaction, in a reaction, there will be some reactants. Okay, some reactants, and these reactants are going to participate in the reaction, and they will be turned into products, right? Go by your mind map. Law of conservation of mass. This means mass is conserved. When you conserve something, that thing cannot be spent out. Uska kharcha nahi hota hai. So it tells about that in a chemical reaction, mass is always conserved, but there is a transformation of reactants to products. So it says mass is conserved means if I had started this reaction, reactions happen in a system. I always said system, surroundings. So in the system, if there was X mass, after the reaction also there is X mass. That means that it says that the mass of all the reactants should be equal to the mass of the products. Right. So if you want to bring this term this side, see, mass of reactants minus mass of products is what? Change in mass. Change in mass. What will you get on this side? 0. That means change in mass is 0. There has been no change in mass at all. So we say that the law of conservation of mass, this law was given by Anton Lavoisier. S-U-E-R. That might be L-A-V-O-I. Yeah. Antonin Lavoisier, and it says that in a chemical reaction, the total mass is always conserved, which means that the mass of reactants should be equal to the mass of products. There is no loss of mass. But what is not covered in our syllabus, but we should know for interest, that if this reaction would have been a nuclear reaction, then the mass of reactants will be never equal to the mass of products. The mass of products will be less. Where did that mass go? That mass transformed into energy. So if we want to club 1600 law and today's findings together, then this law should be changed as in a chemical reaction, whether it is nuclear or a general atomic reaction, total of mass and energy is always conserved. I might be having 6 mass and 1 energy. Afterwards, I am having 5 energy and 2 mass, so that the total is always 7. But that is when you go for higher classes. At this level, what should you know? The mass of reactants is always equal to the mass of products. किसी बच्चे को कोई problem है, अब इसके ऊपर हम क्या करते हैं? जैसे we get to know all these things, we also try to build up what is known as our analogy of examples. Okay, so let's take some examples and try to understand this law now. Let's take some examples. Now, I'm taking an example. You should get verse slowly writing chemical equations also. C plus O2 gives me CO2, right? So we have our preliminary ideas about atoms and molecules. So let's check whether we know these things or not. C stands for an atom of carbon. O2 stands for one molecule of oxygen comprising of two atoms of oxygen. And this is one molecule of carbon dioxide containing one atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen. This is molecule, this is molecule, this is atom, right? I also told you something about that. How much does an atom of carbon weigh? You said an atom of carbon's weight, relative atomic weight, is 12U. But now let's talk realistic. If you want to talk realistic, I want to know the measurement in grams, which is the exact measurement. So we talked about something called, now the book will have these examples, but you now know, which spoke about something called molar mass. What is molar mass? Mass of 1 mole. 1 mole means 1 mole. 1 mole of carbon atom will weigh how much? 12 grams. This is the exact grams. And what is 1 mole? 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 carbon atoms. So many carbon atoms, if you can place on a weighing scale, it is going to weigh 12 grams. When we read our reaction like this, our first way to check the reaction, though you will learn in grade 10, then only you will understand the thing fully. और जब हम कोई चीज पूरा समझ लेते हैं ना, our acceptance level increases. Otherwise, it's like that parent and the child story. सो जाओ नहीं तो जूजू आ जाएगा. Sleep. कौन आएगा? He will come. Who he? Mother has no more definition, but she knows child will not question. पर ऐसे नहीं पढ़े, ऐसे पढ़ के मजा नहीं है. So we should understand balancing of a equation. Balancing means the balancing word comes itself from the law of conservation of mass. So let's check out here. How many atoms of carbon on the left hand side? 1 atom. How many atoms of carbon on this side? 1 atom. How many atoms of oxygen? 2 atoms. How many oxygen atoms? 2 atoms. So atom wise, this equation is balanced. Reactions happen in accordance to a balanced equation only. You might say, sir, can you just explain it a little bit more by giving one more example? Why not? I take something called hydrogen as a gas and it is reacting with oxygen. We all know what does it form? Water, right? Now look at the reaction out here. How many hydrogen? 2. How many hydrogen? 2. How many oxygen? 2. How many oxygen? 1. This is not balanced. That means the reaction is not happening according to this recipe, because our rule is simple. Mass of reactants have to be equal to mass of products. Now you will say, sir, you are counting atoms. Array. If there is a mass, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 2 atoms of hydrogen means the mass contributed by hydrogen on both sides is same, right? I have got 1 Atreya, 1 Atreya. So whatever is his weight here, his weight will be here also same. So it doesn't mean that whether you're comparing by mass, you can compare by the number of atoms. But I'm seeing that there is a discrepancy in oxygen. So such reactions, we have to do what? Balance it first. So in balancing, we will learn in grade 10, but there are some heat and trial methods. So we say 2H2 plus O2, we say 2H2O. Now if we try to see, just see 4 atoms of hydrogen on this side. How many atoms of hydrogen? 4 atoms, balanced. Hydrogen is not creating any disturbance. How many oxygen this side? 2. How many oxygen this side? 2. This is the paternal property. Patrick, Pushtani Jaidat. It goes to the son as well as to the daughter. Have you understood? Now, whatever coefficients we write here, in reality world, this will be called as mole. Do you have any coefficient out here? No. That means 1 is standing out here. And this is how much? Now, how do we read this reaction? Now, let us get a little bit advanced. 2 moles of hydrogen, 2 moles of hydrogen molecules. Each hydrogen molecule has again 2 atoms. So 2 moles of hydrogen molecules will have 4 moles of hydrogen atom. Is this हिसाब getting clear? अरे इसको मैं 2 kg बोल सकता हूँ, 2 लीटर बोल सकता हूँ, पर केमिस्ट्री में 2 moles बोलते हैं. 2 moles, 1 mole, 2 moles. Each mole of hydrogen weighs how much? 1 gram. Hydrogen is 1. Now it becomes clear. You have got a periodic table with you. We can actually go. So let's go by our reaction. How many moles of carbon? 1 mole reacts with 1 mole, forms 1 mole. So let's put our weight. What is 1 mole of carbon? 12 grams. This is the molar mass of carbon. Then only you start appreciating that why did the book write 12 grams? कहाँ से लिख दिया? So we are saying we are measuring not at atom level. As a chemist, how do you expect me to pick up 1 carbon? one molecule. ऐसे थोड़ी होगा. No. It has to happen in a realistic world. So what is the realistic? 1 mole of carbons will react with 1 mole of oxygen to produce 1 mole. Once you have balanced it, the coefficient tells all about moles. This is what children earlier in grade 9 used to study. And if you're studying it, you are doing good to yourself, because the ICSE and the IGCSE children also know it. You are the only one who doesn't know. But you are expected to know this in grade 11 first chapter. ऐसा कैसे? हमें पढ़ाया नहीं गया है. मैं बोला ना, first chapter of grade 11 is some basic concepts of chemistry. And maximum children fail in that unit test because the basic concept is not clear. ठीक है? चलो. So this is 12 gram. How much it should be? Oxygen? 16 grams is for 1 oxygen. This is 1 mole. 1 mole has got 2 atoms. So how much this should be? 32 grams. 16 is the molar mass. Look at the periodic table. 16 बताएगा आपको. Or it will be in decimal. 15 point something. Look at oxygen. यहाँ पे. It will be written. कितना लिखा है बेटा? 15.9. That we will see why 15.9. So we'll go by the 32. And now we're talking about 1 mole of CO2. Now here itself we will address what is called molecular mass. Atomic mass is related to atom. This is a molecule. So what is molecular mass? Okay, I'll tell you. I have some mass. Now somebody tells me, what is the family mass of Jaideep sir's house? Family mass. So what is the family mass? My mass, my wife's mass, my daughter's mass, and my mother's mass. We don't have any pets. Add all of them, that is our family mass. So what is molecular mass? Molecule के अंदर जितने atom है, सबके masses को add कीजिए and take care of the mole. So this is 1 mole. That means what is the molecular mass of carbon dioxide? 12 grams from carbon, 16 from oxygen each into 2, which gives me how much? And what is the sum this side? Children, are you able to appreciate what is law of conservation of mass? More than that, I want you to appreciate, how did I get these numbers? These are all the molar mass. Everything that you see on your periodic table, it's molar mass. Helium's molar mass is 4. That means 1 mole of helium atoms, if I put on a tarazu, it will show how many grams? 4 grams. Oxygen's molar mass is 16. That means 1 mole of oxygen atoms, if I put on the tarazu, it will read how much? 16 grams. Exact 16 grams. This is the chemistry behind it. Correct? So let us now look at this equation and try to do law of conservation of mass out here. How many moles of hydrogen? 2 moles. Each mole of hydrogen has how many atoms? 2 atoms. So ultimately you ask, how many atoms of hydrogen? 4 atoms. What is the molar mass of hydrogen? 1. Hydrogen's atomic number is also 1. Hydrogen's atomic mass is also 1. So 4 into 1 will give me how much? 4 gram. Did you understand how the 4 gram came? 4 atoms. How many oxygens out here right now? 2. Each oxygen is how much? 16. So this is how much? 16, 32 grams. And how much is there? Let us see. So we have got H2O. H2O. Okay, let us find what is the molecular mass of H2O. Straight away H2O. Okay. 2 into 1. Sorry, rather than that, I should write 1 of each hydrogen into 2 plus 16. How much is it? 18 grams is the molecular mass of a water molecule. Don't say atomic mass. Water is not an atom. Water is a molecule. So I have got 2 molecules. So it should be straight away 2 into 18 grams. Is it tallying? 36, it's tallying. Let's take one more example. CaO plus CO2 gives me CaCO3. Right? CO plus CO2. Just check. First check whether it is balanced or not. If it is not balanced, your law will not work. First balance the equation. 1 calcium, balanced. 1 oxygen, 2 oxygen, 3 oxygen, balanced. 1 carbon, balanced. We have no tension. Now just let us put on adding. Calcium, I think calcium is around 40. Okay, plus oxygen is how much? 16. See, now since you know the periodic table, it will come to calcium is at 20, roughly 40. Carbon is how much beta? 12. And each oxygen is 16 multiplied by 2. So let's add it up. How much is it? 40 plus 16 gives me how much? 56. And let's add here 16 into 2, 32. 32 plus 10, 42 plus another 2, 44. So it gives me how much? 100 grams on this side. Right? Let's check this one. Calcium 40 plus carbon 12, oxygen 16 into 3. This is 48. This is 12 and this is 40. 88 plus 12, 100 grams. Clear hua? What is law of conservation of? More than that, I would like to ask you, since you have understood law, did you understand the concept? Children, this will help you, like it will go a miracle to you. Have you understood what is molar mass? Molar mass means mass of 1 mole. Sir, how do I get this mass of 1 mole? Straight away look into the periodic table. Whatever data is given, that is molar mass. So in periodic table, for example, oxygen will be written as how much? Say oxygen is written 16 and 8 out here. That means the molar mass is equal to 16 grams, exact 16 grams. Mass of 1 mole, and 1 mole contributes to 6.022 into 10 to the power 23. This is the count. Clear? Have we understood this? Did we also understand, right? Did we understand? Now you can ask that, sir, then what is the difference exactly between atomic mass? Well, atomic mass, when we talk about, the perfect word is relative atomic mass. In that we give a unit which is relative atomic mass unit, which is U. So what is the relative atomic mass of oxygen? 16U. This is the measuring unit in their planet. 1 atom. This is 1 atom, 16 atomic mass unit. Atomic mass unit is a very garib unit, very less, very, very less. And it is what? It is 16 times as heavy as 1/12 the mass of carbon 12, where carbon 12 itself is 12U. But in realistic world, we say that more than this, the better way is to go by molar mass. Molar mass means 16 grams. But in that case, it is not 1 atom, 1 mole of. Similarly, have you now understood what is a molecular mass? Same way, molecular mass can be expressed in 2 ways. If you want to express the molecular mass of 1 molecule, so 1 molecule of CO2 will be how much? 44U. In our days, we used to read it as MMU, molecular mass unit. मामू पढ़ते थे हम इसको. वो AMU था, ये MMU. So now you read it as U. This is 1 molecule of CO2. But in real world, what we will go again? Molar mass of CO2, which gives us more realistic, but the number doesn't change, but the unit becomes familiar to us. ये चीज समझ में आया? Mass of 1 molecule of an atom. Okay. Now, if somebody tells you, what do you understand by 44U? You say that when you have 1 molecule of carbon dioxide, this is 1 molecule. Inside it, what do we have? 2 oxygen atoms. And what do we have? 1 carbon atom. This is a molecule. This molecule is 44 times heavy as compared to 1/12 of a carbon 12 atom. This is the definition of 44U. So is carbon dioxide heavier than carbon? Sir, what question you are asking? इसमें oxygen 2 लगा है तो heavy तो होगा ही. It is 44 times as heavy as carbon? No, 44 times as heavy as 1/12. And if you don't want all this tamjam, then you can straight away say 1 mole of CO2 is exactly 44 grams. And here, how many molecules I'm taking? 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. How many carbon atoms? Jitne moles utne. How many oxygen? Double. Did you understand this thing? This is very dicey, huh? 1 box of Kinder Joy has 6 Kinder Joys inside it. Bada wala box. So if you buy 6 big box of Kinder Joy, how many Kinder Joys you got? 36. So when you take 1 mole of CO2, you get 1 mole of carbon, but 2 moles of oxygen. यहाँ भी बच्चे गड़बड़ कर देते हैं कैलकुलेशन में. ये याद रखिए. अपना पैकिंग वैसा है ना, हर पेंसिल बॉक्स में 2 पेंसिल और 1 इरेजर है। हमने 12 पेंसिल बॉक्स लाए। कितने इरेजर लाए? 12 इरेजर। How many pencils? 24 pencils. That's the same thing. So is law of conservation of mass okay with you? So though we did it, let's repeat and do the problems also surrounding law of conservation of mass. Okay, so good, बच्चा पढ़ लिया है। आइए कुछ law of conservation of mass देखते हैं। Typical questions that come in your exams. So they say, this is an NCERT question. Sodium carbonate reacts with ethanoic acid. Okay, sodium carbonate. So we have sodium carbonate, and sodium carbonate is made to react with ethanoic acid. It forms sodium ethanoate. This is a grade 10 reaction, by the way. Sodium ethanoate plus carbon dioxide plus water. ठीक है, हमें यहाँ पे ये क्वेश्चन इज वी हैव टू, अच्छा, नाउ सिंस वी हैव स्टडीड लॉ ऑफ कंजर्वेशन ऑफ मास, सो यू विल नो दैट सर जो क्वेश्चन करा रहे हैं तो वो तो लॉ ऑफ कंजर्वेशन ऑफ मास ही आएगा, क्योंकि अगला लॉ अलग है। आपको दोनों लॉ में भी पहचानना होगा कौन से लॉ के ऊपर ये सवाल है। हैव यू अंडरस्टूड? सो लेट्स सी, रीड दिस क्वेश्चन। इट सेज ड्यूरिंग दिस एक्सपेरिमेंट 5.3 grams of sodium carbonate was reacted with 6 grams of ethanoic acid. Reacted with 6 grams of ethanoic acid. You know, you don't pay attention in CBSE. Even if you go to IGS, Cambridge, this point also, see, this is 5.3. If you write 6, आपको काट देगा, this is 6.0. This is called significant figures. This problem is being solved in 2 significant figures. These all things get bombarded to you in grade 11. आप भी करोगे 11 में, आपको भी इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं पता. Suddenly it will be bombed on you. So, and then it forms 8.2 grams of sodium ethanoate. Further, giving you 2.2 grams of carbon dioxide and releasing water, which is around 0.9 grams. Right. I'm changing this question, and I'll first say, calculate the amount of water discharged during this reaction. So this is follows law of conservation. Law of conservation means my mass of reactant should be equal to mass of products, and I don't know how much water will be released. So water is X grams. Very, very easy question. Will we be able to do? So let's just do it here. 5.3 is being added with 6.0. It gives you 3, 11.3. And how much do we have on this side? 8.2 with 2.2 and an X. So 8 and 2 is 10. 10.4 plus X. Right? So if I take out 10.4 from here, I should be getting the value of X, 0.9. So you have found water is 0.9. You solved it the other way. In the book, the answer was, this was already given as 0.9 in NCERT. They wanted to tell you, show that the equation obeys the law of conservation of mass. So you first say, law of conservation of mass states that in a chemical reaction, mass of reactants is equal to mass of products. You calculate what is the mass of reactants, you calculate what is the mass of products, and show that, raining na, show that both sides, just ख्याल रखना सृष्टि, अगर वहां पे पानी आए ना तो उसे बंद करेंगे. Show that both sides are equal, which proves that the law of conservation of mass has been followed. Another way that the question could have been given is the way I twisted it, that they will hide one of the product or the reactant and tell you, calculate the quantity of water that has been released during the reaction, if the reaction, and they will not say anything. So we know any reaction that happens due to law of conservation of mass, so you should be able to do it. बोलो बच्चा, समझ में आया? ऐसे जो आप यहाँ पे ये सब लॉज हम पढ़ रहे हैं ना, लॉ ऑफ कंजर्वेशन, कांस्टेंट, लॉ ऑफ मल्टीपल प्रोपोर्शन आता है, लॉ ऑफ इक्विट प्रोपोर्शन आता है, बहुत सारे लॉज होते हैं, वो 11 में कुछ आप सीखेंगे. तो ये वाला लॉ क्लियर हुआ कि नहीं? So what are the guiding parts of this law? This law is given by Antonin Lavoisier. It is valid for chemical reactions, mass is always conserved in a chemical reaction, which means किसी भी chemical reaction के होने पे mass reactants can change into products. However, the mass of reactants will always be equal to mass of products, and there is no change of mass. So if you take Ananya and break her into small pieces and crush her, mass of Ananya before crushing and mass of Ananya after crushing should be same. लेकिन अगर नहीं मिला तो मिक्सी के साइड में थोड़ा और स्क्रैप कर लीजिएगा, वहां थोड़ा रह गया होगा ना, थोड़ा अनन्या बचा है उसमें से, ऐसे से करने से आ रहा है तो बंद कर दो, नहीं तो वो पूरा बंद करेगा। धीरे से इसको बंद कीजिए। हाँ, not here, right? Shall we go to the next law? Okay, next law तो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है, नेक्स्ट लॉ में आपको बड़ा मजा आएगा। So let's see the next law. The next law is the law of constant proportion. Law of constant proportion. इसको एक एग्जांपल से समझाएंगे and then you will find that this has become very easy for you. Okay. Whether you are vegetarian or non-vegetarian by diet, I don't think any one of you does not like having French fries in McDonald's. Is there anyone who dislikes French fries? Again, your batch is EB, that they said expressionless batch. I'm asking a simple question. Do you like? So what is the harm in saying? Am I asking some parental property or some bank balance or something? I'm just asking, do you like French fries in McDonald's? Yes. Yes. Don't be that snob. Batch. Okay. So you must have had French fries in McDonald's in Orbit Mall, or I don't know, our Hyderabad airport has it in the ground floor. So you must have had it in ground floor airport somewhere, anywhere, or a different city. If I blindfold your eyes and I serve you one pack of French fries, can you tell from which city this French fries is coming? No. Why? Don't give me all those Rasta wala answers. Think like a chemist and talk like, okay, let me tell you. No, one more example. No, one more example. Or majority of you people like Maggie. I also like Maggie. I also like Sukha Maggie. KMC नहीं है आपके घर में? My daughter is one KMC. Kacha Maggie chor. Oh, Kacha Maggie in her study cabinet there will be there. Kacha Maggie is also very tasty. Okay, Maggie we make it normally. I'm just saying the normal way of making Maggie. You heat water, add the taste maker and make Maggie. Don't you find the way she will make Maggie and I will make Maggie, there will be a little bit of difference? Biryani, all of us have veg or non-veg, whatever it is, or say a typical dosa's chutney or something. Do you find the same chutney in two shops? What went different between McDonald's and biryani? What went different? You must have had paneer butter masala at so many places. Is it same in two restaurants?
So the taste.
Why? What is the difference? Quantity. What then happened in French fries? No, in French fries also sometimes you may get little bit slender, you may get less. But why can't you make it out in French fries? Simple. French fry is an ingredient and recipe based cooking. Idiot makes it or you make it. It is a mechanized process. The fries come, you load them into a furnace, and the furnace oil is of the same type. You just feed the temperature, and after that 11 seconds it will auto cut and you just take it out. The only difference you can make in French fries is if you want to sabotage it by adding more salt. That's the only difference. और French fries में आप कोई difference नहीं ला सकते, दो French fries unless and until you change the oil. समझ में आ रहा है? ये भी तो French fries के जैसे ही law है. ये law French fries जैसा ही है. That's why we say in Indian cooking is not typically only ingredient and stoichiometry based. We don't say take 1 teaspoon of jeera. We will say jeera swad anusar, and everyone has their own aroma. So let's see what is the law of. अब कुछ समझ में आ गया आपको, law of constant proportion. That means when these girls who are making French fries out here, do you think that they are chefs and cooks? No, they just follow a procedure. The French fry is coming in one packet from the McDonald's zonal center, which is all processed. All you have to do is follow the procedure. If you follow the procedure, you get French fries. Otherwise, what you get, we fry you. Simple, right? So this is also something like that. Law of constant proportion. इसका मतलब है that in orbit mall में जो French fries का पैकेट गया है और the Hyderabad airport में जो French fries packet has gone, there if I take 100 grams of French fries, it should have the same amount of, I'm saying ingredient A, say salt, ingredient B, say some preservatives, some sort of whatever A, B, C, D they are adding, this has to be same. Buy a Nivea moisturizer here and you buy a Nivea moisturizer in Bombay, is there any difference? है ना, कोई, इसीलिए तो आप जब किसी रिश्तेदार के घर जाते हो कभी टूथपेस्ट पैक नहीं करते हो, क्योंकि आपको पता ही उसके घर में भी एक टूथपेस्ट मिलेगा, and as long as the brand is same, the taste is not different. So this is also law of constant proportion. So what does it say? It says, पहले इस लॉ को पिक्चोरियली समझते हैं. If you take a pure substance, and what is a pure substance? Compound, right? This compound will be made out of what? Compounds are made up of what? Elements. Ish. And then you all say, ये नहीं पढ़ाया, वो नहीं पढ़ाया. Compounds are made up of elements. Say this is made up of element E1, say element E2, and one element E3. We're saying that 3 elements have made this compound, right? Now this compound can be sourced from a source S1, from a source S2, or from a source S3. To make your life very simple, let us take a pure sample of water. Let us take a pure sample of water. Water is made up of the element hydrogen and is made up of the element oxygen. This is pure water. We're sourcing one from London. Okay. We are sourcing one from Jubilee Hills and we are sourcing one from New York. Should you find difference in taste? No. So what does the law of, now you should be yourself able to define law of constant proportion. It says a pure substance or a compound is always made up of the same elements, chemically combined in the same proportion by weight, irrespective of the way you have manufactured this or sourced this. As long as this is water and I make you drink 3 samples, whether your eyes are open or closed, you won't be able to say which water is from where, because the water is having the same elements chemically combined together in the same proportion by weight. That is what we should understand. Same proportion by weight. Let us make it a little bit easy. So I say one bread butter toast. One bread butter toast is 1 slice of bread and 15 grams of butter. Not an ounce more, not an ounce less. And the same bread. So a bread butter comprises of bread and butter in which the proportion is how much? 1 slice of bread is say 10 grams and butter is 15 grams. So soggy ho jayega. Bread is 20 grams and butter is 10 grams. And तो soggy ho jayega na, butter is ज़्यादा bread. So in 30 grams, we go by proportion. In 30 grams, 10 grams is contributed by butter, 20 grams is contributed by bread. No matter wherever you go and order, you will have this proportion only. And if you follow this proportion, then you are always eating Parle-G biscuit, whether in my home or your home, the Parle-G biscuit tastes always the same. So when I was little bit, not your age, little bit more lesser than your age, I had a knack for having Coca-Colas. So in those days, Coke used to be kept in fridge. So I used to drink the Coke, and so that I don't get caught, I used to put water in it and maintain the level. What I did not know, that I am not following the law of constant proportion. So one day my dad comes thakahara and he starts having that Coke. My mother, I have fooled her because mother sees the volume and we were told, Anda Coke nahi pina hai, gala kharab ho jayega. Fridge also used to have a lock. In those days, fridge में ताला होता था. तो ताला मार के रखते थे. ताला खुला मिला, पी दिया कोक, पी के फिर टॉप अप करके रख दिया वही लेवल में. अब देखो क्या गलती किया, कांस्टेंट प्रोपोर्शन नहीं रखा, तो डैड को दे दिया मॉम ने. डैड हैड इट. आफ्टर डैड हैड इट, I had the thrashing later. That means they got to know that the Coke is not having the Coke taste. Why? Because I have diluted it. The proportion has now changed. Same amount of Coke is having more water and less Coke. So one who is habituated. So now you understand what is law. So the law, we will see what is the definition. The law of constant proportion says that a compound consists of the same elements combine chemically together in the same proportion by weight, irrespective of how and where you are sourcing it. Why did I use the word how and where? Water can be sourced from two different places. Water can be prepared by you in the lab also. As long as you are preparing water, you cannot have a different combination. And this law was given by Proust, Joseph Proust, P-R-O-U-S-T, Proust's law. Joseph Proust gave it. So let us write what is the law of constant proportion. So the law of constant proportion says a chemical compound always consists of the same elements. A chemical compound always consists of the same elements. In your mind, what it should go? The French fries are always made up of the same elements, chemically combined together. Why are we using the word chemically combined? Because compounds can be formed only when elements react. Reaction is what? Chemical change. अच्छा याद है अनन्या? Chemical change मतलब compound में chemical elements lose their parental properties. In water, hydrogen is no more explosive. Oxygen is no more a supporter of combustion. Water itself has its own identity that I am a fire extinguisher. That's why we use the word. See, every word has its importance. The law of constant proportion states that a compound always consists of the same elements chemically combined together in the same proportion by weight. In the same proportion by weight. Now you are getting it a little bit difficult to understand what is proportion by weight. So if you have done some ratio proportion problems, we used to say what? The ratio of boys and girls in a class is 3:2. 3:2. And then we say that, how do we see the proportion here? Add up the ratios. 5. Out of 5, 3 parts will be boys, and out of 5, 2 parts will be girls. So if you add 3 by 5 and 2 by 5, what do you get? 5 by 5, which is 1, which is the classroom. Proportion के problems हमने किए थे ना? 3x and 2x. So how do you divide? Say somebody tells you divide the class in the ratio of 3:2. So how do you do it? You first add the two ratios. 5, 3. 3 by 5 into so many and 2 by 5 into so many. Have you understood? Divide. हाँ. बोलो बेटा. Water नहीं, covalent compound है. Hydrogen ionic cannot form. How can hydrogen give you one? I told you very first day, hydrogen has only one electron. If I give that one electron, my atomic nature is lost. I am a proton now. Hydrogen cannot form ionic compound. Hydrogen will always form covalent compound. देते देते हमको भी तो कुछ रखना पड़ेगा ना. हमारे पास कुछ भी नहीं है, कैसे दे देंगे आपको? समझ में आया? So let's go back and now look at that law properly. Okay, so we are at law of constant proportion. There will be the space here. Okay, so we have seen the graphics, so let's understand. So we have a compound. It says this compound is comprised of the same elements, and these elements should be chemically combined in what? A fixed proportion by weight. So let's see that. Okay, so let's look at water, right? Let's take H2O. Now see how atomic mass will help you. What is the molar mass of water? 18 grams. Sir, how are you finding out so quickly? Oxygen's molar mass is 16. Hydrogen's molar mass is 2. 2 plus 16 is 18, which means 1 mole of oxygen will weigh how much? 18 Ratnadeep grams. We are all talking in terms of Ratna. Is this understood? In this 18 grams, now let us find out how much is hydrogen and how much is oxygen. Okay? So just see, hydrogen is how much? 4. No, sorry, 2. Hydrogen is 2 and oxygen is contributing to 16. So if you take the ratio becomes how much? 1:8. Have you understood the ratio of hydrogen to oxygen? Any time you take water as a sample, the ratio of hydrogen to oxygen will always be 1:8. You took 1 mole. So in 1 mole, you are finding the ratio is how much? 1:8. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 में इसका कितना रहेगा? 2 पार्ट रहेगा, 1 पार्ट रहेगा और इसका 8 पार्ट्स रहेगा. Now if you take say 2 moles, then also the ratio will be always 1:8. Then only it is obeying one recipe. Are you getting it? In CO2, what should be the ratio? Carbon is always in the ratio of 12. Let's see CO2. CO2. CO2 is 12 is to how much? 32. Correct? So इसका ratio लोगे तो कितना आएगा देखो? 4 3s are 12, 4 8s are 32. So carbon and oxygen. So how do you now define it? A compound. Now how do we define it? It's like this. Carbon dioxide contains the same element carbon and oxygen chemically combined in a fixed proportion of 3:8 by weight, no matter how you prepared this carbon dioxide. How you prepared means you did this reaction in lab. What did you evolve? Carbon dioxide. What should be the ratio? 3:8. वरना ये कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड होगा ही नहीं. वो वाला टेस्ट नहीं मिला तो हम इसे फ्रेंच फ्राइज बोल ही नहीं सकते ना. That is what nowadays if you go to KFC, they also have French fries, and they have, everyone tries to master and copy the formula. It was not their trademark product. It's McDonald's trademark product. But if you ask me, I'm a foodie. If you close your eyes, you can't differentiate between a McDonald's French fry and a KFC French fry. That means they have done so much of extensive research that they must have all decoded this 3:8 ratio of this. यही तो secret है ना. How many of you know Coca-Cola's secret? Coca-Cola does not give a secret. There's a 7th component called the 7X. That is the secret. That secret nobody will reveal. Nobody. Only 2 people know that. Yeah, very good. Very good. I'm very impressed. And they are both are not allowed to go on the same plane. Yeah, same happened. The Air India black boxes were brought from Ahmedabad to Delhi in 2 different Air Force flights. If you bring both in together and if that flight crashes, then both the black boxes. Even this is a rule in top companies also. Top level CISOs never travel on the same flight. There should be 1 person remaining. That's a rule. So we go back to our definition. Where were we? Yeah. So if you are making compound of carbon dioxide, so as I said, that if you find it to be similar, if you have found something, sir, I have discovered something which is having all properties of carbon dioxide, turns lime water milky, sir, extinguishes fire. I'll first thing say, hey, go and check the ratio. Carbon. Huh, sir, I checked. It is carbon, oxygen, and it is how much? 3:8. I'll say, idiot, you didn't discover any new thing. That was carbon dioxide only, which you have found once again. आप सोचो ना, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड कोई बोतल में रहता है क्या, अलमारी में? नहीं ना. How do chemists get to know that this gas is carbon dioxide? By doing the stoichiometry test. Are you getting it at 3:8? Otherwise, how do you know this is carbon dioxide? आके तो नहीं बोल सकते हो ना. And then do some tests whether it is confirming you or not. So if you are having, again, one more example, let's take the example now of water. I have a compound called water, and water has the same elements, hydrogen and oxygen, chemically combined together in a fixed proportion of 1:8 by weight. No matter where you are getting this, if this carbon dioxide was actually breathed out by me, then also the ratio is how much? 3:8. और जो water है, anything which is watery but it is not 1:8, that means it is not water. दो लॉ समझ में आया? बड़ा आसान है. इसको आप फ्रेंच फ्राइज याद रखना. A compound always consists of the same. It takes a packet of Lijjat Punjabi masala papad. Does all the papads taste same? Yes. Next packet you buy 6 months later, does it taste same? Yes. It has to be. This girl is saying no. खरीदेगा ही नहीं लोग. Papad is a recipe based item. They will all taste the same. Chips, very good example. Dairy milk. आपको डेयरी मिल्क में 2 पीस 2 पैकेट से तोड़ के दे दो, कैन यू फाइंड? Anything. Recipe based things will always taste the same. They will never taste different. Look at the speciality that they do with these mother's recipe achars. Achar is something which is prepared with the Indian touch, but once you are finding, if you go to the very village shop and buy achar, na, like you go to the Rajasthani Marwari shop and you're buying achar, two achars will never taste the same because that is handmade. But if you go and buy mother's recipe achar, all the achars will be same taste. इसका मतलब भी उसको कौन बना रहा है? Machines are making it. That's why the taste is coming same. And the law is followed what? Law of constant proportion. Otherwise, you will never get two products which are similar. Clear हुआ? और इसीलिए they say that when you cook Indian items are always not science, more of art. She might disclose the same samosa's roti recipe to me. I will go and make the same recipe, but somehow the taste will come different because it depends how many times she needed it, how many times I needed it. But that's why if you are baking cakes में कभी भी अंदाजे से मत बनाओ. Like we make sabzi. How do we make? Jeera 2 powder, kali mirch 1 powder. Cake, you never do this. If you think you are very good in making cakes, you can never make. Cake बनाने से पहले, even before buying the raw material, buy the measuring devices. Yes or no, Hannah? Do you agree? This girl bakes cake. Hannah, madam, do you agree with me or not? Baking cake is an art. No, it's a science. Cake baking means you have to buy your measuring devices. And there is another garbar in cake. You can tell me what it is. In terms of cooking and all, every time you cook, in between you can do this, thoda aur nimbu. Cake once gone, gone. Now you can only take it out after 40 minutes. Either you will be posting it on Instagram, or you will say, kuch acha nahi banta hai, aaj se sab banane nahi hai, or you will be slapping your kid. Why? Because your cake did not come out. या फिर घर में dog है तो सोचो हमें बे 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 करते रहते हो. Cake बनाई नहीं. Cake and cookies once gone. आप सिर्फ देख सकते हो, पहले पहले जब ब्रेड बनाता ना, ब्रेड फट जाता है ऐसा, लाइक कॉफिन द ब्रेड विल ब्रेक ओपन. फट गया, ओ ईस्ट ज्यादा हुआ है, बेकिंग पाउडर ज्यादा. यू कैन ओनली कंसोल, नथिंग मोर देन दैट. Whereas in a sabzi, you can do everything. Right? Understood? Law of constant proportion. So let's see some law of constant proportion oriented, what do you call, problems, if they are. So, we have one problem. Let's see. So there is an experiment. Okay, there is an experiment in which 1.288 grams of copper oxide, CuO, copper oxide, was obtained. You actually obtained this. इसको आपने पैदा किया. कहाँ से पैदा किया? Sir, we had lot of copper in our house. We reacted it with oxygen. We got copper oxide. No. Okay. This was obtained from 1.03 grams of copper. Just understand. Okay, this is a very nice example. जरा सोचो, you got copper oxide from copper. कुछ और भी तो लगा होगा इसको बनाने के लिए. Oxygen. Why did they not mention it? Oxygen is abundantly available in the atmosphere. Who is the limiting reactant? This one. As much copper you have, only that much can transform to copper oxide. Rest oxygen, it will be pulling up. And who will help me to find it? The man whose head was cut in French Revolution. Who was he? Antonin Lavoisier. He will tell me law of conservation of mass. कि अगर इतना कॉपर ऑक्साइड बना है इतना कॉपर से, तो कितना ऑक्सीजन पिया नहीं निकलेगा? निकल जाएगा ना. अच्छा, ठीक है. Don't just copy a problem. Look into the problem and start thinking. Okay, the problem is not yet over. And there was another experiment. Okay, it was obtained from 1.3. In another experiment, 3.672 grams of copper oxide. ये हमारी दीप्ति मैडम ने कहीं से बना लिया है. This much of copper oxide and this much of copper oxide on reduction. Reduction, that is, reduction is a type of reaction. Just understand, reduction means it is going to break down. On reduction, it gave you it, it's losing electron. इसमें अभी दिमाग नहीं खाना है. 2.398 grams of copper. Just understand, ना? Copper. Try to understand. दोनों रिएक्शन अलग अलग है. इसमें कॉपर ऑक्साइड को बनाया गया, इसमें कॉपर ऑक्साइड को फुल्ली रिड्यूस कर दिया। रिड्यूस मींस टेक आउट ऑल द ऑक्सीजन अवे। हमको कितना कॉपर मिला? इतना कॉपर मिला। कहता है प्रूव दैट दिस ओबेज लॉ ऑफ constant proportion. So there are two ways we can prove it. Either you find out what is the fraction of copper here and what is the fraction of copper here, then you get to know that the proportion is same in both. एक तो ऐसे निकाल सकते हैं, या फिर आप ऑक्सीजन का भी हिसाब निकाल लीजिए कि कितना ऑक्सीजन निकलेगा। इसमें से निकल जाना चाहिए ना कितना ऑक्सीजन निकलेगा। And then you should show that to form this, copper and oxygen were in this ratio, copper and that's the best way to show. So can we find out how much of oxygen was required here? कौन बताएगा कितना ऑक्सीजन लगा था इसमें? I'm not writing it as O2, I'm just writing it as say oxygen. How much of oxygen? Tell me. 1.288. So minus this. So 8 minus 3 is 5. No, 8 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 3 is 5. And 2 is 2. 0.250. So we are having 0.250 parts of oxygen, right? And we are having 1.288 parts of copper. And what is the net mass? 1.288. Sorry, Nani. I made some mistake. This is 1.03. Copper is 1.03. Net mass is this. So can you find out what is the ratio of copper and oxygen out here? Here the ratio of, here copper is to oxygen will be in the ratio of what? 1.03 by 1.288 is to how much? 0.250 is to 1.288. Clear? Nobody will give you this problem, but still, to save time, let us use a calculator and see what is the proportion we are getting. Right? The first proportion says one. Our calculation is correct, right? एक बार check कर लो तो कितना था? नहीं तो पूरा गलत आएगा. 1.288 minus 1.03. Yeah, 1 minute. 0.258. 1 minute. गलत आ जाएगा. 0.258. Okay. मैं चेक कर ही लेता. अरे यार. 258. So this is 0.258. Let's see the ratio now. So the ratio is 1.03 divided by how much? 1.288. So this is approximately 0.79. So I'm taking this as 0.8 approximately. 0.8 is to, and let's see this side. How much is it? 0.258. And this side is how much divided by 1.288. So this side we are getting 0.2. 0.2. So if I multiply both by 10, the ratio is 8 is to 2, which is roughly 4 is to 1. ये चीज समझ में आया? We can multiply 10, 4 is to 1. If we can prove that यहाँ भी 4 is to 1 कारोबार हुआ है, because ये भी तो copper oxide ही है, ठीक है? So let's find out the oxygen out here. How much oxygen you will get out? So tell me what is the value? How much of copper oxide? 3 point minus 2.938. So oxygen is 0.734. Oxygen is 0.734. So how is the ratio out here? 0.734 is oxygen is to how much? 3.672. So this is copper is to oxygen, and copper should be how much? 2 point is to, देखते हैं मैच करता है कि नहीं. Tell me, narrate me this part. 2 point divided by this is 0.8 is to 0.734 divided by 0.199, which is 0.2. So roughly this is also 8 is to 2, which is 4 is to 1. मतलब दोनों ही कॉपर ऑक्साइड है. यहां कॉपर ऑक्साइड को बनाया गया था, यहां कॉपर ऑक्साइड्स को तोड़ के कॉपर निकाला, लेकिन दोनों प्योर फॉर्म है, तो दोनों follows the law of multiple proportion. Have you understood? So there also they have done the same thing. They have found out, so it's 4:1, 4:1. Is law of multiple proportion understood to you? Sorry, law of constant multiple proportion you will actually study in grade 11. So today you studied about two laws. So I go back to my main screen and I'm now using green color. And if you are still having doubt, let me know. I'm ticking these two. Anyone has issue in these two? Atoms and symbols, does anyone have a doubt? We will learn atoms and symbols. Symbols never have numericals in them. Only chemical formulas have numericals in them. And we also learned about molecular mass today. It is nothing but take the molecule, identify who are the elements inside, add their atomic mass, express it in grams. That is known as molecular mass. What is the molar mass of one molecule? And if you want to see the relative molecular mass, then you write it as U. The number remains the same. So are we clear? क्योंकि सबको पढ़ के जाएंगे पर आपको क्लैरिटी डेवलप हुआ है कि नहीं? ठीक है, अगले क्लास में हम डाल्टन्स एटॉमिक थ्योरी, जस्ट एक लाइन बोल के रखता हूं. डाल्टन वाज द फर्स्ट पर्सन टू गिव अ थ्योरी ऑन एटम. Whatever Dalton said is today everything is proved wrong. Everything is proved wrong. But we should be, with great respect, we should never say wrong. We always say drawbacks, limitation. उस टाइम पे उस आदमी ने अपने थ्योरी से इन दोनों लॉस की जस्टिफिकेशन दी थी. आगे चलते चलते we found that things are totally different from what Dalton said, but yet we study, because if you don't study this, आप आगे की चीजों को अप्रिशिएट नहीं करोगे. So Dalton's atomic theory में कुछ हमारे postulates आते हैं. They are never proved. He suggested those, and in those days nobody could prove them wrong. Later on we study what is drawback. उसके बाद तो चैप्टर खर्रक से खर. जैसे एक ड्रॉबैक है, he says atom cannot be divided. सब एटम डिवाइड हो गए बाद में. He says atoms of the same element are alike. Then you will read something called isotopes. कार्बन के ही 3 टाइप के एटम हैं. न्यूट्रॉन्स काउंट, they are not alike. Then he will say that atoms of different elements are different. No, atomic masses of different elements. There are elements whose atoms are different but masses are same. ऐसे भी हमको आएंगे, आइसोटोप्स आएंगे, आइसोटोन्स आएंगे. तो डाल्टन के सारे लॉज जास में जाके गलत प्रूव हो जाते हैं. But some things, one law is correct. Like he said, when a chemical reaction happens, atoms participate in an equal, constant, proportional count. So that proportional count means what? End of the day, when I bring, today you said what? Copper and oxygen combined in a ratio of what? 4:1. I have so many 4 kgs of copper. How many kgs of oxygen I need? 1 kg. छोटा करते जाए. I have got half kg of copper. Then इसका कितना चाहिए? उसका half का 1/4 चाहिए. That means at some level there is something which is unique, that is atoms. That we'll study in our next class. ठीक है? Are we fine? चलिए.